sorry, that screen's not up. Disappointing. There you go, lad. Thanks for your
Good
patience.
morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. Our producer is John McDonough. My co-host, Eileen Delrossi, is apparently fiddling with the fireplace right now, trying to get it fixed up. So she'll be joining us in a minute. Weather coming in, it was above freezing, 33. It's going to get into the 40s. Cloudy after lunch, rain Saturday and Sunday, so that's not good. In history, in 1776, Juan Bautista de Anza finds a site for the Presidio of California, which is a beautiful location.
What year did he discovered California?
Not discovered California, but he found this particular point in San Francisco.
What was the year?
1776.
Oh, so it was after Independence Day.
No, before Independence Day. It was in March.
Oh, okay. Big doings that year.
Big doings. In 1918, General John J. Pershing, during World War I, canceled the 42nd Rainbow Division orders for further training and diverted into the line, became the first American division to take over an entire sector on its own, which held longer than any other American division occupied sector. The Rainbow Division today is a National Guard outfit, and Massachusetts is part of it. Famous people, Douglas MacArthur won 7 Silver Stars while he was with the Rainbow Division. William Wild Bill Donovan, later the head of the Office of Strategic Services, the CIA forerunner, was there. Chaplain Duffy, who became famous in the movie Fighting 69th. And of course, I just drew a total blank. The author of the poem Trees was also in the division as a sergeant. His name will come to me in about 7 minutes.
That's okay. We can go back.
Yeah.
We got plenty of time.
So, in 1979, a coolant leak at the 3 Mile Island Unit 2 nuclear reactor outside of Harrisburg. By outside Harrisburg, they mean in the middle of the Susquehanna River, leads to a core overheating and a partial meltdown. Not good. In 1515, St. Teresa of Avila, Doctor of the Church, was born.
Did you mention Melanie's not coming today?
Melody's not coming today. She'll be here next week.
But we're going to have Lloyd's going to be here.
Right. I think my favorite line from Teresa of Avila was, she was crossing a river on horseback and the saddle slipped and she got dumped in the river. And when she got up and got organized, she said, "Lord, it's no surprise you have so few friends considering how you treat the ones you have."
That's a cool statement.
Which I thought was a good, humorous statement.
And what did the Lord say?
Well, I don't know. He continued to bless her. 1811, John Newman was born, a Czech-American bishop. He was down in Philadelphia. 1945, Rodrigo Duterte, Philippine politician, 16th president, and presently before the International Court of Criminal Justice in The Hague for authorizing non-judicial punishment of drug dealers. They were killed. 1953, Jim Thorpe, American football player, passed away. I spent a year working out at the Jim Thorpe gym, where he had worked out. 1985, Marc Chagall, a French painter.
What city did you work in, the gym?
What?
The gym you're talking about?
Carlisle,
Carlisle, Mass?
Pennsylvania.
Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Would that be in the United States?
That would be just west of Harrisburg. Most of
Never mind.
Pennsylvania is in the United
I should
States.
not have asked. Never mind.
Pennsylvania mostly
Please move
is
on.
in the
Thank
United
you.
States.
We're going to go by that page. Sorry.
And in 1987, Maria von Trapp passed away.
Wonderful.
Um,
Would you remind the audience who she was?
Sound of Music? She
She
was
was a movie star.
She was the woman.
Movie star?
No,
The
she
real
was
person.
played
Real
by a
McCoy.
real person.
Okay.
She was a nun who was sent from the nunnery to help Captain von Trapp manage his family kids because he was a widower. And
Didn't he end up marrying her?
she ended up getting laicized. They escaped from
Laicized.
Austria.
Would you tell the audience what laicized is?
They took away her nunship and returned her to being a regular
Who's the
person.
they?
They, the church,
Her church?
one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Roman Church.
So the Pope got involved.
I think not. I think it was probably handled at a lower level.
Okay. I never knew she was a nun.
Maybe she was just a novitiate, but
If Gary Frescarelli was here, he'd be playing a singing nun song right now. That would come up.
well, that'd be good.
But then Facebook would throw us off because it's copyrighted music, so. We're having a little problem with Facebook.
Don't we all?
Yeah, they don't like copyrighted music.
So,
These things happen.
anyway, she was played by Julie Andrews in the movie The Sound of Music. The von Trapp family escaped from Germany after or just before the onslaught where Germany took over Austria.
Did you leave the door ready for Eileen?
Eileen Delrossi.
Oh, she's here.
No, I left it locked.
Sorry, I'll be right there. Thanks.
So then they moved to Vermont and became American citizens. I was reading along and I saw where Tucker Carlson has noted that Rosie O'Donnell is an election denier. He said, "Get ready, America. Rosie O'Donnell may be laying the groundwork for an insurrection." The new Ireland resident and former View host on Friday week ago that Democrats have long claimed constituents or that an attack on democracy when you deny the election, and she doubled down. She said, "I question why, for the first time in American history, a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest contributor was a man who owns and runs the internet," O'Donnell explained on Irish TV. So I guess Rosie O'Donnell thinks that the election of Donald Trump was a fraud. He says, "We must admit that we've never considered O'Donnell's theory. Trump being buddies with Elon plus the president, dominating the electoral college must equal election fraud. There's really no other explanation. Get Kamala to the White House now. She clearly should have been there this whole time. By the way, it's worth noting that Elon Musk donated to Barack Obama in 2008. Thank you, Eileen. So I don't know, does Rosie think that Obama's election was a fake? So we have with us Eileen Delrossi,
Yes.
who just dropped her keys.
The
Are you having
donuts?
a good
She
day,
brought the
Eileen?
donuts.
Are you having a good day?
I'm having a discombobulated day a little bit.
Yeah.
But I have,
All right, we're holding on. Eileen is reorganizing her jacket. What's on your sweater?
well, it's a shirt.
Shirt?
This is me saying I'm gonna run for re-election.
Oh, well,
Right.
yeah,
You're getting
good.
skinny, too.
All the things. Yes.
So Eileen Delrossi, candidate.
Candidate for school committee. I didn't realize Bob Hoey was really actually running.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't either.
Yes, we don't talk about that stuff here. We talk about, where are we? What year are we in? Are we into topics?
Yes.
Okay. But Bob Hoey, Danielle McFadden, and who else?
Daniel
You.
McFadden wasn't there last night.
Me, yeah.
You were
No,
there.
I was there. Yeah. And it was such a great night. It was a great party at Mount Pleasant for Eric Gitchier. I almost forgot about it, and then I remembered. And I got to meet the Gitchier parents, which was amazing. Because
I met his dad, didn't get to meet his mom.
I've never met parents with such, like, you can't have kids more different than a Lee and Eric, right?
Oh, I thought they were pretty much alike.
Really? Well, and it was just incredible to meet with them and talk with them. And I didn't realize that the mom Gitchier knew my mom. Used to work with her at Saints or St. John's, I think, at one point. So that was very interesting. And can I just say, Regina Fatacanti, I have to say, she looks incredible. And I feel like she could be like a supermodel.
Oh,
Yep. I was like, you look like you could be on a runway, right?
What, did you have any food?
I didn't have any of the food.
I had,
no.
I had the buffalo chicken sandwiches. I had 2 of those puppies. They went down nicely.
Yeah.
That was a guy by the name of Eddie McCabe. Nice guy.
Eddie McCabe.
Had a lot of good chit chat. Had a wonderful time.
Yeah, a lot of good people there.
A lot of people.
Karen Casella.
Ryan Rourke was there. And,
I don't,
well, I'll show the video in a bit. Back to
Okay.
Cliff.
back to Cliff.
uh,
Karen Casella had her grandbaby, finally.
oh.
Yeah, just yesterday morning. I saw the show.
Sharon
on-
was there looking her good self with her husband.
Yep. I guess she went in with her daughter on Tuesday, she was telling me, at 9:30, and the baby wasn't born until 7:30 a.m. on yesterday morning. So God
Wow.
bless her daughter. It's quite a feat. But yeah, I'm happy for them. I love that she's nanny because my mother is a nanny as well to all of her grandchildren. So it was really great to see everybody. And Art Santos and his wife, Martha, I found out she's my Karen Reed soulmate. So we'll be in touch. Yep,
Okay.
okay.
So I saw in today's paper they had a picture of never mind.
A picture.
My brain went blank when I picked up the article. I don't know what I was thinking. So, over to Gaza. Apparently the people have been demonstrating against Hamas. Did you see that? I thought maybe that would never happen. that,
And Hamas are demonstrating against Gaza.
Comment from the audience?
Let's not give
Go ahead, Eileen.
Rosie O'Donnell any more oxygen. Let's be happy she moved out of the U.S. She's Ireland's problem now. Rosie O'Donnell.
Well, I got a kick out of watched Trump talking to the Irish king or the president. I don't know what they have in Ireland. And he said, be careful, Rosie O'Donnell's coming. And the Irish king or the president looked at Trump and says, who's Rosie O'Donnell? So she's going from a country where she's somebody.
To where she's nobody.
Yeah.
well, that's good.
Thank you for your comment.
So, things may be turning around in Gaza. The people are tired of all this war that Hamas has brought them. And then there's now a lawsuit against people that from Columbia University that alleged that the anti-Israeli organizations like the Columbia University Apartheid Divest and Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine were aware that Hamas was about to execute a terrorist massacre of Jewish civilians before it happened. I was kind of surprised at that.
That's
But-
intense.
But apparently, claimed the organization had prior knowledge of the October 7 attack, citing, for example, the fact that Columbia's Students for Justice in Palestine reportedly turned its Instagram profile active 3 minutes before Hamas started the attack and published the cryptic message, "Stay tuned." They also named the anti-Israel activist Mohammed Khalil, who the federal government, the executive branch is trying to deport. So that was a little bit of a change in my mind.
That's deep. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a week. It's been a year.
Okay.
How's that?
Hey, what about your student with the swollen eye? I had a note about that.
Okay. So, thank you for remembering. All right. So, I said this a couple of weeks ago. So, I am a special ed teacher. I go into one certain kindergarten class every day. And so, I know a class very well and the students in it. And so, I was just in there helping get started. The regular teacher was out. And I just kept looking at one of the students, and I was like, something's off with his eye. And in this day and age, like, what if it was anaphylactic shock? But I just kept looking, and I'm like, no, there's definitely something off. I said to the substitute, I'm going to take him to the nurse just to make sure. And now they're looking at me like I'm absolutely crazy. And they're like, we don't see anything. I don't notice anything. And I know, like, I see this student every single day. And so they give him some ice. And then I see another teacher in the hallway who also sees him every day. And I was like, can you is there something off with his eye, or am I completely going crazy? And she's like, no, there's definitely something off with this eye. So now as I was walking with him back from the nurse's office, he said it was the crazy girl on the bus. She hit me. And so it was very hard because he doesn't speak very good English at the same time. So I had the teacher that I saw in the hallway. I'm like, can you please try to get out of him what happened? So she spoke with him in Spanish, and he said there was a girl on the bus that, I guess, hit him. And, all right, so now I go back down to the nurse's office, and I go in to justify myself and say, a girl did hit him on the bus. And so one of the nurses says to me, you need to go tell the office. So I go to the office, and I say, who do I need to report this to? And it's the assistant principal of the lower school. And I report what had happened, my experience. I noticed something visibly different with this kid's eye. So I explained everything. And about 10 minutes later, I'm in my room, and I get a call. And it was the head nurse, not the nurse that told me to go report it to the office, but it was the head nurse saying, excuse me, are you the teacher that brought that student with the eye to the office? And I'm like, yes. And she said, and so I'm wondering why the assistant principal called me and said that his eye was like closed shut, bruised, closed shut. I said, I never said that. And she said, well, I just want to make sure you know that none of us saw anything wrong with the eye. And I was like, I know you didn't. And then she hung up on me like I did something bad just for caring. And I just thought to myself, it like hurts to care today. It just hurts to be observant and to care. And it just was disheartening because this nurse was really mad at me. And I don't know where it got lost in translation.
When I'm confronted with a person who doesn't want to do their job, I ask them their name. Thank you for your help today, nurse. What is your name? And then they go like, what do you want my name? You don't have a name.
Well, see, I could care less about that stuff. My
If she doesn't like
concern was
her
this-
job, go work at a hospital.
Right.
Go work at a nursing home. If you're sick of looking at kids,
And that's what it kind of seemed like. And it wasn't all the nurses. It was just like that head nurse. And I was like, listen, like, I just noticed something very visibly different within the kid, and it just,
but Eileen,
what if I didn't?
a nurse working with kids can't have a bad day. If you're having a bad day, go home.
Right. I 100% agree. I mean,
Well, we're all entitled to a bad day. That's what mental health days are for. Go home.
no, I agree, but, and I don't know where it got lost in translation. I never said his eye was swollen shut. I said his eye was visibly different. And in this day of age, with all the crazy allergies that are out there, and like, what if something was going on, or what if he ate something? Because I was asking him, did you eat something different for breakfast? Like, I didn't know, but it was visibly different.
Huh.
And
How come we're sliding over the fact that young girls are bullies?
Some young girls.
I
And
mean,
some
because
young boys are bullies.
right, it can go either way, and I think it's been throughout all time. Maybe the girl had a crush on him, and that's the way that she shows him, being crazy and punching
Now,
him.
you chicks are weird when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I mean, everyone has a different way of showing emotion.
Can you imagine being like the daughter of Caesar, and you see a little boy you like, and you say, Dad, have that boy whipped so he knows I like him.
I mean,
Strange way to show that your affection. Have someone beat that child up and let him so he knows I like him.
and I think in today's day and age where socialization is suffering with our young ones because they don't know how to, right? They
Where do you teach them? Where do you teach a 6-year-old how to engage with the his or her general public, their own age group? And I'll ask both of you souls that same question. Where's that taught?
And you're right, it's not, because
Where should it be taught?
a lot of my kindergartners, like, they just walk through people. They don't even, like, have any spatial awareness. And then they'll, like, run into somebody or say something mean. And I'll just, instead of going through the whole process, I'm like, how would you feel if somebody ran into you like that or called you a baby? That's not nice. How do you think this person feels? And I said, just look them in the eye and just say sorry. Like, just say sorry. And we're not talking about big feelings or anything, just that was wrong. And then most often a kid will look the kid in the eye and say, I'm sorry, and the other kid will say, okay, it's okay. They just want to hear that somebody recognizes something's
Now you're
wrong.
kicking it up a notch. When you say, a friend of mine, his name is George Oliveira. And I see George a couple of times a week. And George told me it was summertime, and he says, around in America, all you have to say is, I'm sorry. And everything goes away. He says, over in Portugal, you get a boot in the rear end, and that's your I'm sorry. There's no consequence. Oh, I gave you a black eye. I'm sorry.
But I think
Not okay. I think the remedy should be more than, I'm sorry. Tell her you're sorry. I'm sorry. You don't mean it.
But for a long time, that wasn't even happening. That doesn't happen because they take the kids and they talk about the big feelings and then they hug them.
So Clifford, what are your thoughts?
Oh, you learned it.
I asked you for your thoughts 5 minutes ago, and you just sat there. In deaf
Eileen was
mode.
talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, you polite man. Please continue.
The neighborhood.
The
You
neighborhood.
learn it by socializing with other young children in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, with the fertility rate of 1.63, there aren't as many kids
You're
in
going to have to
the...
expand on that, Clifford. What are you talking about?
Fertility rate.
The rate at which women produce babies. For every female in the United States, we get 1.63 babies.
Okay. Gotcha.
Not enough to reproduce the population.
How
And I'm
about-
going to expand on that when you finish reading.
How about from the parent? Give me a break. This whole parenting school argument is absurd, Jay. And
Jay,
I-
the point is, the parents don't know what to do.
right. And we have come across this whole generation of parents who never learned.
We're waiting on for the sunrise here.
That's
Go ahead,
beautiful.
Cliff.
That is really beautiful. You're.
So,
Please continue.
So the fertility rate needs to be 2.1 just to reproduce the population. We're at 1.63.
We're just-
And that means,
As long as the Democrats come in every 4 years, we won't have a problem with population because they just open the border.
I'm so confused.
do you think that'll solve the problem?
I'm just putting that in there. Please continue.
I honestly think people, like, there's such fierce arguments on both sides, the Republican side, the Democratic side, right? Nobody's listening to anybody, right? And what point do we get to the problem-solving stage? Nobody wants to put the work in to do the problem-solving. Everybody's just listening to what they want to listen to. And at the end of the day, nobody's working together and there's no efficient or effective problem solving for this whole entire country.
Read this one, then we're going back to Cliff. I want to hear the rest of his thought.
Our parents ruled with an iron fist, and that's how we learn. No BS attitude from the parent. No, and I agree. I say that all the time. I went way left from my parents because I was like, I want to be the most understanding, loving parent to my son. Boy, did I screw myself over because these kids have way too much of a voice now, right? And I'm not about kids not being able to not advocate for themselves. I think it's a beautiful thing. But when you hear kids say things like, even in my teaching experience, I don't appreciate this teacher's teaching style. And I look at them and I'm like, where did you even get that vocabulary? Like, a teacher's in front of you, you just respect them. That's how we grew up, right? You don't question somebody or their teaching style, and it's just too much of a voice today. But this is what society has conditioned us to have, and I do believe that, I mean, at least as kids, we grew up, we knew how to fill in the blanks, right? And no matter what I think of parenting or whatever, like, we went way far left with this generation, and today our kids don't know how to fill in the blanks. And my son was out 2 days of school this past week because he had a man cold. Like, he had the sniffles, and
He had a man goal.
that's what I call it, right? He didn't feel good, right? And so he was sniffling, and, I didn't have all the allergy stuff ready. like the Flonase and all the things I really should have thought of. But where my head goes is, what if it's strep? What if it's flu? What if it's COVID? I have to get him tested. So I ended up having to take Tuesday morning off to take him to the doctor to get tested for all of that. And I'm like, why do I get my head so caught up in all of this? Like, just tell him to suck it up and go to school. And it's just the way that we think, or the way that we look at parenting today is very different than I think the way our parents looked at parenting. Because I remember my parents saying to my friend's parents, if she acts up or if they act up, hit them, right? And then that's just the way it was. If you said that to somebody today, you'd go to jail, or, you know? So we live in such a different society today, and it's...
I wanted to hear Cliff's grand finale on this topic.
So John has provided the alternative that we just allow more and more immigrants in. If we don't, we'll end up with a top-heavy society with a lot of old people like John and myself sucking up Social Security and a smaller base to tax in order to pay that Social Security, and we'll end up with a tremendous national debt, and it'll finally collapse, and the United States will go away. So that's the situation.
Well, I don't think that's possible to happen within the next 10 years, because everywhere you go on the planet, they prefer American money. Eileen, you got two to read here.
Don't forget, Kids Are People Too. That the show that ruined America. I've never seen that. Hold on accountability. If the kids didn't have everything given to them, then maybe they'd understand cost, savings, and accountability. Jay, I know. I mean, I 100,000% agree with you. Because even I'm driving around with my son on Monday, I'm like, we got to go to an urgent care, and I need to get you checked because...
Which one did you go to?
We went down to the one in Drake, right? And because
How was it?
It was packed.
Oh,
And so
no.
what I was like, listen, I literally can't afford to go in there and get myself sick, right? And so I'm like, my son wasn't feeling good enough. And so I looked for another urgent care, maybe in Methuen. We drove that way. We couldn't really find one. And so I ended up just calling his primary and getting an appointment on Tuesday to go to his primary. And just because of this whole year, the way it's gone down, and you know, I've had to take an awful lot of time from work. And so I'm sure I expressed frustration as I'm driving with him. And Anthony's like, Mom, are you mad at me? I'm like, Anthony, I'm not mad at you. You're not feeling good. But I want you to realize that we have an appointment at 9:40 tomorrow, and I'm not getting paid now at this point for the time that I take, because I've just had to take so much time this year because it's been a year of just overall transition. And he's like, oh,
Well, I'll tell
okay.
you, on the walk-ins, there's two in Tewksbury.
Oh, yeah, somebody was saying
The
that.
first one is right by, you should go out 38, right by
Walmart, right?
Walmart, yeah.
Carewell.
But then they got a Lowell General one, Tufts.
Further down.
Whatever the name is this week. And that's about a 10-minute ride out 38.
I hear both of them aren't always very busy.
And they're loaded with Lowellians. Don't tell anybody about it, because there's usually not a big line.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard, like that accountability, and you know, when I took them Tuesday, there was no flu, there was no strep, there was no COVID, and they were like Flonase, you know, allergy meds, and, you know, all these common sense things that I tend to forget, you know, and because, like, now we live in a society of, you know, you need a note if your kid's out, and it's just, yeah, it's different, it's all different.
So back to John's comment. I agree that you and I probably don't have to worry about it, but I think Eileen does. She's a lot younger than we are, and we'll eventually reach the point that The dollar will no longer be the preferred currency. We're actually seeing a little slippage even today. And
What will no, wait a second, you're talking Slavic. What did you say about currency?
currency.
Money.
You argue that the dollar is the preferred currency.
Everywhere I go, yes.
That's slipping in the markets and the financial markets. And while it'll probably not be of any importance to us, by the time Eileen gets to our age, I think we could be in trouble and people could be turning to other currencies like the Chinese currency or like the currency that they're trying to create, that Compact of Nations is trying to create. We could be in trouble because $37 trillion, Moody's suggests that it'll be 150% of GDP in 30 years, which is when Eileen will just be moving into retirement.
So are you saying I should take my retirement now and cut and run?
Well, no, because you could live longer. You can't speed that up. So
I will.
that's
I
my,
will live as long as possible
Well, this is one of the reasons why I
and feel
insist,
every.
when we're lucky enough to have a school committee member in our presence, that I insist they promote teaching personal wealth in every grade.
I'm sorry, that's not the solution, John. The
Let
solution.
me tell you something, okay? Do you think, name a rich guy, Jeff Bezos, is waiting for his social security check every month? So if we teach our children personal wealth, in 20 years, we'll have a lot of rich grandkids around that might send grandma, hey, grandma, I love you, here's a grand. And now, because we didn't teach our kids personal wealth, they don't have that grand to hand over to grandma.
So,
That's my point.
and I think there's no skin in the game for kids today because they don't see their parents struggling to buy groceries. Most parents have an EBT card and aren't really paying hard-earned money for groceries. They're getting everything paid for. So why would you have skin in the game to even understand what personal wealth is, right? And I feel like you hear of a Mr. Beast or a Jeffrey Bezos. They're one in probably very many that do make it well, and whether or not they meant to or not, or planned it, I don't know how you make it a priority, I guess, for our students today and make it a priority for parents to make it a priority for their kids if nobody's working hard for anything.
In order
And that's
for,
what scares me.
in order for more people to have larger personal wealth, we have to expand the economy. And I don't think that the Democratic Party is focused on that. I do think that Donald Trump is focused on that.
I think it's all lost in translation, honestly. I wanted to talk to John about this, actually. I want to start a YouTube channel called The Unhinged Mother and Teacher.
Okay,
Okay, can you help me?
it's easy to do. Do it on your phone.
I just, I feel like maybe that's the secret to life, a YouTube channel, because people are getting very famous on YouTube, right? And kids gravitate towards that. So how, if you could interrelate it to becoming a YouTuber and making money, right? And teaching it that way.
Oh, you're not gonna.
With
The likelihood of you getting money out of YouTube, I think you're better off to buy a Powerball ticket, which I guess is $545 million.
Listen, John,
So on your way home, pop into Frank and Ernie's, or wherever you like to go, and get yourself a nice $2 Powerball ticket. And don't tell a soul. So if you win, you can just walk around with $545 million in your pocket and not tell a soul.
I watch this stuff all the time on YouTube, like the law tubers, right? And people, you can monetize yourself on YouTube, and people could send you like super chats or whatever they are. They could subscribe to your channel and then send you a chat. And so instead of just reading the comments, we could charge them to read the comments, right? People do this
Morning, Ryan, underrate the effects.
all the time, which is unique.
Yeah.
But
It still doesn't change the fact that we've got a $37 trillion national federal debt.
and
Be
there's
forgiven.
Well, what was that comment?
that can be forgiven.
By
I think
who?
he said. I don't know. When he comes back, you're going to have to clarify that with him.
Weird.
I
He's
mean,
turning into a Democrat. What can I say? So Eileen, how is the school committee doing?
we're doing okay. We have a school committee meeting next Wednesday, April 2nd. We also have a joint facilities meeting on Tuesday, April 1st with the city council to talk about facilities issues within the city, within the school buildings in the city. Yeah, so just looking to have questions answered and so forth going forward.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how things are. You want me to move over?
No, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hi.
So, yeah, that was Eileen's way of indicating we have someone in the green room. So,
Here's our next guest, Ryan Lloyd, for Tewksbury Selectboard.
All right.
He's scheduled for 7.
so
I'm
you
gonna-
said something about just forgive the debt, John?
Yeah, forgive the debt.
Who would forgive the debt?
The debt holders.
So you think the Chinese, for instance, would forgive the debt, the U.S. debt they
You
own?
can lead me down the road, Cliff, okay? But it's not going to change my mind, okay?
What is your mind?
Debt. Forgive the debt. If debt can be forgiven, you know what? If you drop the tariffs on all of our stuff, we'll forgive your debt. Deal.
All right. So, did you see that Doge says that the Small Business Administration has made $330 million in business loans to children under the age of 11?
Wait a second. Repeat that. That Doge, the small. Well,
Doge has uncovered that the Federal Small Business Administration has made loans of $330 million to children under the age of 11.
so people are using children under the age of 11 social security numbers to get loans because they're fresh.
I guess that's what it sounds like, isn't it?
The Small Business Association
Administration.
is also who's supposed to take over the federal student loans. Also, I was saying this the other morning. I don't know. I think that there are lots of checks and balances that need to be checked and balanced within the Department of Justice, federally, statewide. I think all type of management has become too unaccountable, and it needs to become more accountable and have somebody actually checking on these things. And, you know, Elon Musk has been tasked with this, and now people are blowing up Teslas in response to it. And it's, I mean, at what point does anybody have any accountability? It's like, if you do this, then I'm going to do this. And it's childish, I find, instead of working together to make America better.
Yeah, they've arrested 3 people so far for torching Teslas.
Did they ever find the person who shot the Tesla in Lowell last week?
Apparently he was arraigned in court, but the Democratic newspaper, who's not here today, didn't report it.
Leave my Melanie
Melanie
alone.
should have been
Oh, breaking stories.
No broken arm.
Oh,
Not Melanie, the photographer.
I mean, I got 2 feet of read.
rich people have problems also. If you teach good work ethic, the money will follow. The people have had spending problems for the last 40 years. Yep. Manufacturing is the key to successful economy. NAFTA was a killer too. American manufacturer. NAFTA, what is NAFTA?
North American Free Trade Agreement. Canada, U.S., and Mexico. So it was modified once under Trump 45. I don't know what's happening now. Oh, saw something where they got a picture of Fonnie Willis and Nathan Ade shopping together down there in Georgia. Fonnie Willis, remember, she was the one going after Trump.
Yes. And who was the other one?
Nathan Wade was a young lawyer she hired to be her prosecutor.
They were shopping together.
Yeah, they apparently have a relationship.
A financially beneficial relationship.
Well, it was financially beneficial, but it was also apparently physical.
Okay,
So,
good talk.
did you say anything in the news about this discussion on the application signal
Oh,
that
yes.
involved,
Pete Hegseth.
yeah,
And yes, so obviously they used an encrypted website, Signal, which I must say, Turtle Boy and Karen Reed also used that. But it also went out to somebody who shouldn't have got the information. And I guess the whole fact is that everyone's horrified at this now. But it's just unique because I find it to be unique because if the person, who was the person that should not have received the information?
Jeffrey Goldberg.
And who is Jeffrey Goldberg?
He's the editor for the magazine The Atlantic.
Okay, so if he was then on the list somehow, and if he actually leaked any of this information, couldn't he be charged with treason?
I would think so, yeah.
All right.
Let me just throw this little point. Since you elected officials love executive session, what would happen? Okay, back in the days when we were Zooming executive session, say, for instance, just by mistake, a reporter from the Boston Globe got included in the Zoom call. You wouldn't know. What happens is, pride amongst our elected officials, they act like they know everybody. So, oh yeah. Who's WW? You don't know who WW is? What the heck's the matter with you? So, this process of, first of all, we don't question ourselves. Our pride says, oh, I'm not going to question who's in the chat room with me. And there are ways to get around all this good stuff.
Yeah.
And this is just a chat room they can just dump into. There's nobody to let them in.
Not for,
It's
and
a
you
big,
can,
big screw up in my book.
and there's a ton of court sessions that you can even go on Zoom and listen to other people. Like if I need a boost in my own life, I'll do that once in a while. Right?
Now, Cliff, you've been on these Zoom calls and collective chats and stuff. Do they usually take attendance, or how do they usually proceed on the government end when you were working with the Air Force? And if you can't say, I respect that too.
Well, I've never been on a Zoom call when I was in the Air Force, but the Zoom calls I'm on, they let people in.
And LT.
You get paused and someone has to let you in.
My explanation, this app is once you get the invite, you just click it and you're there. You don't have to, there's nobody guarding the door, so to speak.
Well, in the executive sessions, I know for the Lowell School Committee, LTC kind of protects it, and once everybody's in, they remove themselves from it and make I believe, whether it's Jim Hall or Liam Skinner, the director of it. And so, I mean, but you're right. Anybody can know any of this information. How secret is executive session at the end of the day when it all becomes public anyway?
And my question on this particular app, how easy is it to record this? So,
I
Cliff,
see.
you and I, we sit down, we have this secret Zoom meeting. And one of us hits record. And they send that file, that recorded file, to Melanie Gilbert at the Lowell Sun.
Yeah. I mean,
You have no idea the whole thing's being, oh yeah, you can see recorded. No, you can't. If I put my phone here, you can't tell my phone's recording the meeting.
But Massachusetts is a two-party consensual state, and you could be charged with
Not in a public
wiretapping.
meeting. Well, okay, in executive session, yeah, you could certainly be charged. It never happens.
But I guess what
Signal
I'm
automatically records everything, and you have to decide when to delete it.
Okay. But how about admittance? Can you speak to admittance?
I think that he invited whoever Tim Walz's dog rubber was, invited in Jeffrey Goldberg by accident.
So this Tim Waltz isn't the guy who ran for vice president?
No, that's a different person.
But
Okay, I'm
somebody-
glad we cleared that up, because I thought he was in the loop.
somebody definitely
Heaven forfend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not surprised. It's too much communication. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, now that we're talking about this, I think of all of this all the time because for some of the subtests as a special education teacher that I do, like I have to record the student so I can go back and listen to the student read, right? But if I'm not informing the student or the student parent that I'm recording you, could I get in trouble essentially? Now that I'm thinking about it, like, because I go back all
That's
the
a good
time
question.
and listen because I want to give the student the points that they deserve, and sometimes you don't get it all in the moment, right? And I mean, eventually I end up explaining it to the parent, like what I did in the meeting, but I don't think I've ever asked the parent for permission. I don't think that's anything that,
Cliff, you can read this
We
one
do.
and then respond to it.
could Cliff do a Zoom call while flying a fighter jet?
I would hope not.
Me too.
Because in my mind, Zoom means you've got a screen and you're looking at it. I guess you could have your screen up and do a Zoom call, but you don't want to be too distracted when you're flying, because that way you can get in trouble.
Okay. So we're going to want to go to break early, or what do you want to do?
I just
We got
wanted
2
to,
minutes to go.
I just wanted to follow up. Classified information, was anybody at risk? I don't think so.
It doesn't seem like that. Like, I heard Pete Hegswith say, like, there were no routes explained, there were no coordinates, there was no flight path, it was times. But I guess it would go both ways. If Democrats did that, then Republicans would pounce on them. And that's why I feel like we just don't get anywhere today, because there's all this blaming and pointing instead of working together effectively. Like, at the end of the day, how big of a deal is this? Right? And at the end of the day, like, you're seeing grown adults pointing fingers and getting mad, and nobody's problem solving.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
We'll come back with
Goodbye.
Ryan Lloyd. Be back in a minute or so. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to City Life Show. I'm your host, Cliff Krieger. My co-host, Eileen Delrossi, at the other end of the table.
Good morning.
And in between us is our guest, Ryan Lloyd from Tewksbury, and of course we have our producer, John McDonough. And you're up for election, and the election's Saturday,
April 5th.
April 5th. My autocorrect and my computer made it November 5th. I knew that wasn't right.
It's so interesting, the difference between cities and towns and how they do things. Because I could never imagine electing in the spring. We always
Yeah.
do it in
Yeah,
the,
the towns seem to do it early spring. I know a few of the towns have just had their elections and the results are starting to come out.
So the important thing is vote on April 5th.
if you-
Because
yeah.
otherwise, a small clique of politicians are going to raise the fees on your trash. You need to get more people in, and the politicians need to know that you're paying attention because you voted.
Oh, I need to do a plug on the 311 system in Lowell, by the way,
Go ahead.
which I downloaded, right? And I had an issue with my recycling bin top and my trash bin top. And I just went to recycling bin, and then it said which part, and I said lid. And then it said, what's your pickup day? And I said Tuesday. And I came home Tuesday, and I had a new recycling bin lid and a new trash bin lid.
A new bin?
Not a new bin, but the lid, they were able to replace it pretty
Nice.
quickly. But I'm going to try to figure out a way to send it to you. But I think you can do it on the computer. Have you ever done it? Have you downloaded?
What we'll do is on Monday, I'm going to ask Cliff to put this in a segment, and we'll do it more deliberately on Monday.
Okay.
I don't want
like
to rob
it, and I'll plan it out better.
Ryan's time right now. Ryan,
Yeah.
we talked a little bit, and maybe I forgot to ask you, and if I did, I apologize. Did you bring 4 things to talk about with you?
I
I didn't ask you. I forgot to ask you that. Because usually when we have first-time candidates,
Excuse me, you're burning time. Ryan, were you born in Tewksbury?
was born in Lawrence, but we moved to Tewksbury when I was like 4.
Yeah.
So you're
So-
a long time blowing.
Yeah.
So, what do you do for a living?
I work at FedEx. I'm a trainer for our new hires to properly and safely move around the building and load trucks and not
who
fall
trains
out.
the Amazon guys? The Amazon
Not
guys.
FedEx.
Terrible.
That's the Amazon guys.
Amazon, you never know what the delivery can be in your trash can. They can put the Amazon guys are terrible with delivering their stuff. Please
Do you
please
work at the
continue.
Wilmington Mill?
Wait a second. Not everyone has your bad experience, your bad karma.
Cliff's on a
I
first name
find
basis
Amazon
with
to
his
be great.
Amazon driver,
Well,
probably.
Cliff,
They
the
get
other day,
cookies.
my granddaughter, Zoe, was expecting a package from Amazon, and it said delivered. So she's looking around for it. They put it on top of a fence.
Yeah.
It
But-
was balanced on top of one of these pillars that came up. It was balanced on the top of the pillar, completely out of the house, nowhere near the porch. It was just stupid.
Did they send her
Bad
a
karma.
picture? But a lot of times they send a picture. And like I've got pictures of it being delivered on my neighbor's porch, right? And it's like, how'd that happen? But at least they have the courtesy to, I guess, send the pictures so you can figure it out. Did you get a picture?
I think that's how she knew.
Yeah.
So, speaking of FedEx and your job, does FedEx see mentoring as an important part of their business model?
Generally, we have people around.
Yeah.
We have different programs. We have the Purple Promise program, which is their
Everyone gets
way
a
of
hug.
giving back to employees, to the community, connected. We have different programs. We work with the base a lot up at Hanscom for holiday season stuff. This past Veterans Day, I did a clothing drive for Clear Paths with veterans to donate extra clothes, newer clothes that, you know, when you clean out your closet, you're like, I wore this once, I'm never going to wear it again. And then I brought it up to their office in Lawrence. I brought like I don't know, 5 big boxes of clothes for them to resupply their loan closets so they can give out to the veterans who might be in need and their families.
So you do like philanthropy too?
Yeah,
Training?
I do. I work a lot with the veterans. I'm a veteran myself.
Oh, what service were you in?
Air Force.
Oh, what'd you do?
Oh,
I did
jeez.
logistics for 12 years.
I'm gonna
where
leave
were
now.
you, where all were you stationed?
Japan, Turkey, England, couple tours in the Middle East. I did 4 years in Wyoming working with the nuclear warhead team.
There goes this conversation. You're sucked into the clipboard
Where were you in
now.
Turkey?
Not Istanbul, Adana.
Adana,
Yeah,
okay.
we're about 45 minutes from the Syrian border.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when were you in Adana? I had
2013 to 14.
okay. I had a classmate just passed away, was the base commander of Adana. But it would have been before your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there
I keep forgetting how old I am.
I think it was like a year, maybe a year and a half before they had their attempted coup.
Yeah.
What was your rank when you got out?
When I got out, I was a staff sergeant.
Staff Sergeant?
What were you,
This is
Cliff?
Cliff's
He
a
was a
colonel.
pilot. He was
Cliff's
an
a full
officer.
bird colonel.
I don't understand any of it.
He's a big boss.
Yeah, I worked with some really good colonels when I was
Yeah.
in there, so most of them. We had 1 or 2 that you had questions about, but the majority of them were definitely people forward.
Okie doke. So you're running for selectman.
Yes.
Are you running against someone, or is it sort of like a all against all thing?
I like to see it. There's 4 of us running for 2 seats.
Okay.
The voters vote how they want. I'm not telling people who to vote for. I actually had this conversation this past Tuesday with a vet. He asked me, he's like, who do we vote for with you? I said, that's up to you. I'm not here tying myself to anybody. I'm here running my race. I'm here to take care of what I have to take care of. For Tewksbury, for my neighborhood, the people around me, the town in general. That's my focus. If you want to vote someone with me, you have 2 votes to do it.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and say, you vote for me, you vote for this person, because it's a 5-person board. We're all individuals on the board thinking our own different way, handling business how we want to handle business.
What's your sort of platform?
What sparked you to do this? What was like, I'm running because I'm going to make a difference?
Well, when I came home in 2021, I got medically retired from the military. They sent me home. They said, you can go anywhere you want. I said, I have to go home. Came home, started working on campaigns pretty early on, just
For
general, Dave Robertson and Tewksbury.
Okay.
I was semi-close with his boss, the late Jim Maselli.
Good guy, Jim Maselli.
Jim,
God bless him.
was-
Rest in peace.
there was
Wonderful,
nothing,
wonderful guy.
no one had any bad things to say about Jim. He was a very short, old, stocky Italian guy, but would tell you straight up how he felt. So I worked with
Old
him.
and stocky Italian. No problem with that here.
I worked on Senator Barry Feingold's team, started making connections through that. The election day came, they said, you're running for something, I don't care what you're running for, but you need to get into it. You have the temperaments for it, you have the drive, the passion. I said, okay, let me see when the lists come out. Housing Authority had an unexpired term. So I said, okay, that's a good starting point. I started going to the Housing Authority meetings, getting in good relations with the current board members. Took a run for it. It was a 2-year seat, so the seat ended this year. As this term was coming to, they made me the chair this past year.
What were some of the differences you made on the Housing Authority?
This past year, we've done, I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I think it was 8 different upgrade projects. We upgraded kitchens, walk-in baths, new roofing units, drainage systems.
But what did you like, what was your flair to it? What did you add to it?
Getting more communication within the town, because that was one thing that everyone's like, what's the Housing Authority? How do we do, what is your role? No one knew.
Right.
So when I was running, someone asked me, would you be opposed or even open to having Tewksbury TV come in and start streaming your meetings, pushing it out there?
That's cool.
I said, I'll talk to the board. We'll see if there's even an interest in it, because of where our meetings were. It was a very tight space in our room. There wasn't enough interest that we were getting to make Tewksbury TV bring their equipment to us. But we did start having the Tewksbury Carnation, which is our online local newspaper. They were sending a reporter in.
So you declined?
I didn't decline. It just never came up.
Tewksbury
It
Carnation.
came up in a meeting, and the current board was like, we'll talk about it, we'll discuss it. If there's enough interest, we will. But we weren't even getting interest from the people within the community, within the communities of the housing authority. They were like, they don't pay attention to it, so.
How are you, we'll
Because
turn
it's
the-
not
well,
a town.
I'm gonna move away from the housing board. I'm not gonna ask you more questions about that. Maybe Clifford does.
So we had the Tewksbury Carnation coming in. They were sending a reporter, and we were getting our stories out that way. That seemed to pick up traction. We had a couple people, generally it was family members, people who lived there, were coming in to try to get more information. The problem with, I don't want to say the problem. The thing with our board is that we're more oversight. So we look over the budget, we control the contracts. We're not allowed to take care of day-to-day operations. And people were coming to the meeting, were asking about, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? And we're not by law legally allowed to partake in the day-to-day stuff. So our director, who was part of the meeting, she goes, this is stuff that the board isn't authorized to handle. If you want those questions, you can reach out to me. We'll set up a time and date, and that works best for you, and work out your issues. And they seemed okay with that answer. A couple of people were like, okay, I have more questions, but this isn't the place to do it. This is the oversight board, where they're making sure we're staying in budget, the projects are getting authorized, the contracts are being handled.
It wasn't newsworthy.
Right. It was a lot of, not the red tape, but the governmental
Political.
oversight side of it, that just, if you're not looking at it as we are month to month, and you're not getting to look at the generic broken down numbers, then it's just numbers to you, and you're sitting there like, I don't care how much of this contract's going for this,
It
because
must be an Air Force thing, because Cliff talks numbers all the time, and I'm like, okay, it doesn't mean anything to me. Okay.
So,
All right,
does the housing board, is the housing board aware of, does it have any cognizance over the issue of home ownership and the idea of building intergenerational wealth and helping the poor people? I guess there are no poor people in Tewksbury, but helping those who have less to build equity by owning a house?
we oversee the government, the federal
Yeah.
and the state funding programs, housing programs.
Champ, Section 8.
Yeah, that type stuff. We don't get involved with the town build it. There was a housing forum that the Selectboard, Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, we were invited to it. Most of us went. There was a meeting for
Yeah.
just that, to figure out how to, that's not something the housing authority is responsible for. Our job is to oversee the different funds and grants coming from the federal and state side.
Okay.
So we sat in the back and they were discussing, it's like, we're not involved we're not allowed to be involved in any of this. Our job is to look over these programs and make sure the money's being funded the right way and funneled the right way, and we're not having discrepancies in what grants coming in versus the money we're dispersing out. So there might have been a second meeting. I know there were talks of trying to get additional properties in Tewksbury for us to expand our inventory. The problem is the state and the state hospital own a lot of the available land that's left.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
hard for us to get our hands on it because of the transfer cost and the fees and the state the hospital wanting to give it up for whatever their reason. Whether it's buildable land, whether it's unbuildable land, because it's a lot of swamp land. It's a lot of, Tewksbury itself is a lot of swamp land. Marshes, woods, brooks. It's protected there's an old cemetery that the state hospital has control of. That
You even have a
just-
nunnery, a convent.
The convent.
Yeah.
Farmland, a lot of it's being used by farmland. They lease out the farmland for the farmers to grow their crops that they get sold at the farmers market. So it's just a lot of tricky intricacies and works that we're trying to work with, but we're just not able to, because they'll have to raise our budget, our operational budget, for us to be able to do more housing, and it's just something that they said, upgrade what you have. But we can't do it. They said build up, but our infrastructure can't handle building up. It's old infrastructure. Whether the buildings are just not designed for it, we could take it out, build new stuff, but then we'll have to figure out how to rehome the residents that are currently there. It's just a lot of moving parts that we just aren't capable of handling right now. And
But if you get on the select board, you'll have more power to make the landscape of Tewksbury better for everybody
Right.
to live.
Right. And when the water issue came up, I was like, okay, we get texts all the time. Water main break here, water main break there, system leak here, system error, whatever the issue is. And the more I've talked to people, it's like the more we add to it without upgrading and fixing what we have, the more frequent it's already going to become more than it already is. So I'm trying to find a way to be able to have
So you have
growth.
too much water, and Lowell doesn't have enough water in their hydrants, so maybe you can give some of your water to Lowell.
I don't know if the pipes will carry it.
I mean, you can figure that out.
Back over to Cliff.
What?
He doesn't like what I'm saying. He wants to hear what you have to say. He wants to hear what your questions are.
So, you've now decided to move up to the select board. I was looking to see how that's spelled. Is there space between select and board?
Are we serious? Really?
So, what are you going to bring to the table? When elected, you're sitting there with all your...
Excuse me. Am I going to get to finish, or are you just going to interrupt me again
Well,
after
Cliff,
throwing
no one-
the ball in my direction?
I must say,
If you must
that
say
was
it.
a stupid question to ask. Is select board 2 words? Let's call your favorite kindergarten teacher and ask her. Let's continue to interview Ryan.
I've put it
Ryan,
as 2
please.
words in everything I've put out.
Hester
okay, so-
Waldor.
Yeah,
I'll ask
Mark
Google.
Chapman makes it 1 word. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So what are the issues that you're campaigning on?
The water being the top issue, trying to even bringing in a consultant or someone, a designer, to look at the water system and then figure out where the most common breaks, keep track of where the most common breaks are, where there potentially could be more, and that should be where the focus is for fixing the lines. I mean, the entire system has to be redone, but focus more on the more prone areas to have leakage, to have breaks, to have
1 word. Mark Crapman's right. You're wrong.
typically 2 phrase word, although some towns are transitioning to 1 word, so it's either
Oh,
or.
wait, I didn't read the both words stand on their own, right? It's not even a like butterfly. It's not a compound word. It's a 2 words stand on their own, right?
Yeah,
Either way is good.
yeah, that's how it
It
looks.
seems to be migrating to 1 word.
So wait, do you know it? Like I'm just thinking, like you have lots of questions around this, but have you ever talked with Eric Gitchier? Do you know Eric?
I
He's
haven't
on the
heard the
city
name.
council in Lowell, and he has lots of knowledge around this stuff. So I think that may be a good collaboration.
Right, and that was one of the things that I wanted to, that I put out when I was been pushing all this information and the thoughts on things, working with our regional partners, working with the state, working with the federal, however we can, because the cost is going to be expensive. Everyone knows that. No one's going to be able to shy away from that, or stick their head in the sand and be like, oh, I didn't know it was going to cost this much, right? Because of all the work that goes into it. So working with our regional, state, federal partners to try to figure out what we can do to make what we have work, where we can maybe pool together our resources and make, like how Tewksbury and Billerica and Lowell, all their systems are at least semi-connected.
Yes.
Where we can get
Because
work together, because I run on Billerica Water. My neighborhood runs on the Billerica Water system.
you're on that side.
Yeah, we're on the far side of town.
Okay.
But we can work with them to be like, okay, so we're having these problems. It's clear that you, if not already do, will, so we can work together, pool our resources together, and make the upgrades that need to be done to prevent things from spreading, to keep things more maintained and operational at the same time.
So yeah, Eric Gitchier had a party last night, and too bad you didn't come on before that, so you could have gone and picked his brain. But you can come to my campaign party and support me.
Do you know when yours is
meet
gonna
Eric
be yet?
Gitchier. I just decided yesterday that I was going to run again, and this is why I'm wearing my shirt today, to tell people I'm going to run again for school committee. And it's going to get spicy, I feel like, because we have Hoey running, Bob Hoey, Danielle McFadden, and is somebody else running for school committee?
I
Those,
haven't heard a lot
Don't know
about
yet.
that. But
I don't know.
I'm
I'm
gonna-
all
I'm
for the
gonna do- I'm gonna do
spiciness.
one
You al-
announcement.
You
just-
always hear names pop up and then fizzle out, so.
Today, over at the Lowell Senior Center, today is the 28th of March.
Traveling chef.
The traveling chef's coming. So surprise, surprise, what lunch is going to be over there. So Lowell Senior Center is proud to have lunch 7 days a week. Saturday, Sunday, every day but a holiday. They have lunch, it's $2. If you don't have the $2, just tell me you don't got the $2 and we'll feed you for free. So that's what I want. Now Cliff went to the Tuskegee Airmen last night. And
He took the show over.
I just clicked on the wrong person. And he videoed the Tuskegee Airmen thing, so I'm going to show that first. It's going to pop out here. Okay. It's popping out at the speed of government. All right, drag it over here. I got to get rid of some of this stuff. Sorry. Let's try this. I'm going to stop the music from playing. And we'll play this. And he videoed, this is last night in City Hall. Tuskegee Airmen thing, so I'm going to show that first. Facebook's still talking.
I don't even know how
Shut
to
that
say
one
it,
off.
and I appreciate Ms. Cole
Okay.
for
Now I'll go back to the
instruction
video.
and explanation. So I do a lot of research.
This is the vice
Thank
mayor.
everyone who here.
Paul
I don't
Rathen,
even
yeah.
know how to support the.
Yeah, this is about
Thank everyone who are here today to support.
3 minutes,
the,
Cliff?
Yeah.
This event is very important. It's part of the Black History Month. We celebrate the handful of airmen. It's not really well known, but they are very critical support of our Air Force during the World War II. I don't even know how to say it, and I appreciate Ms. Cole for instruction and explanation. So I do a lot of research. The Tuskegee Airmen were the first African-American military aviator in
Your
the
mic's still on,
United
shut it
States Army Air Force, and they trained at Tuskegee Army Airfield in Alabama, who became renowned for their bravery and skill during the World War II. So they are helping our troops during the World War II, and that's why it's so critical. I don't want to forget the small, important element of our armed forces who protect, the liberty and justice for our country and the freedom that we have today. So I appreciate Manager Golden, I appreciate Eric for his work, and all the staff who support this event and make it happen. I'm so proud to be Lowean. You know why? Because the city of Lowell, only about 3 or 4 cities who celebrate this Tuskegee Airmen Memorial today. So I just want to share with you that and how proud we are, how proud I am, and thank you for being here.
Okay. Also today at 10 o'clock in the mayor's reception room will be a reception and a proclamation declaration regarding the 50th anniversary of the end of the conflict Southeast Asia and the beginning of the Khmer Rouge
Khmer Rouge. Any opportunity to correct you?
genocide
Just outside.
in Cambodia.
And outside in Lowell, not in Cambodia.
Is this
The
event
event.
gonna be
Outside on the city hall steps?
outside or inside?
It'll be inside at the mayor's reception. room.
Second floor of City Hall. What time?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, cool. Now, at 20 of 8, I'm going to run Eric Gitchier's video.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
guys can continue to chatter over there. Eileen, how long are we lucky to have you today?
I'm probably gonna leave in about 5 minutes
Understood.
to go to my rail job.
Safe journey to work, and have a good
I
week.
only
So
do
I
this
was
for
going to
fun.
put my little addition on the, I participated in one war protest on the day that we stopped bombing in Cambodia because Congress cut off the funds. I was the wing commander's instructor pilot, and I didn't want to be involved in this last mission. Who knows what I would say to the press? So I went home on leave, and I watched the wing commander, Bob Crouch, fly the last official mission, or lead the last official mission into Cambodia, and Paul Schwim was in the back seat. Instead of me, I was in the Florida room watching it all on TV.
Let's speak it in code. The back seat is a fighter plane. They have a front seat, which is
Yeah.
the pilot. It's just so
back
the
seat's
audience
the
knows.
navigator and
He's talking about an F4? Is it an F4?
F4.
weapons officer maybe.
Do we have
F4E.
pictures? Do we
No,
have
we-
pictures of you protesting?
No,
Hippie Cliffy? Oh, I just thought of a new name, Hippie Cliffy.
I was protesting us ending the war.
Okay, I'm gonna look for some. I'm gonna find some Hippie Cliffy
No,
pictures.
I doubt it.
Okay, good talk.
So,
Glad we had this conversation.
so Ryan, you have a family here?
My mom, my brother, my sister
Yeah.
lives in Derry. I have a son who lives in Hubbardston. It's about an hour down Route 2.
Oh, yeah, west.
How old's your son?
He's 9. He just turned 9 a couple weeks
Okay.
ago. I'm not ready for the double digits, as my mom pointed out the other day. But
Yeah.
No, they eat you out of house and home. I'm hungry.
so he
I'm
does
hungry.
it now.
I'm
It's like,
hungry.
but he has 3 bites and then he's done. It's like, I'm hungry. Well, you have a whole plate of food. I don't want that. I'm
Oh,
like,
just
well,
wait.
that's what you get. I'm not a Burger King.
So do you get paid as a select boardman?
On the select board, yes. There's a few of the boards in town get paid. Currently on housing, I don't, because we have 2 appointed people. It's an offset of the state. The select board, it's not a lot of money. It's a couple $100. I did the math, but I think it's $5,000 a year. So break that down.
Okay, so you're right, not a lot of money. A lot more than I make as a license commissioner, but still
It's
not
not
that
enough
much.
to live on. So
How much do you make, Eileen?
So school committee gets 12,500 a stipend that's distributed every 2 weeks. I believe city council in Lowell gets 25,000 per year.
Mayor gets 30.
The mayor gets 30 for going to all the events. Yeah.
Okay, so what other issues do you have besides water?
just the more I've talked to people, it's communication. Only certain people seem to get involved in certain things. Others either get left out, ignored. There's a growing feeling of lack of transparency. I've talked to people where they're like, oh, there's these deals being made one way or the
Behind
other,
closed
even if it's
doors.
just speculated that they're being made. The sense that they're feeling that is enough for me to perk up and be like, hey, well, in what sense? And then I don't have an example in front of me. But they'll just be like, oh, I think some people are talking. They'll be like behind closed executive session, as you were saying, behind closed doors,
backdoor
backroom
deals.
Yeah,
All right, let's call it like it is. It happens everywhere.
right. And,
You want
and-
genuineness and transparency
Right.
for your town and community so things are equal and efficient.
Exactly. I want everyone to be able to feel like they can be involved, whether you have everything, you can give anything you want, give nothing but want to be involved, which is fine. There's plenty of people I've talked to that are like, oh, we can't do certain things because of our child has this issue, we have this going on in our family, we have this. I'm like, well, we need to make it so you can at least feel like you're contributing, because some people, that's all they want. They just want to have the
Resources and
the
help.
opportunity or the resources to be able to give back to the community that they love, that they decided to live in, move to, whether they grew up there, or whether they moved in the past 5 years, 20 years, whatever it may be.
I love your, like, you have such genuine, like, I want to say naiveness, but, like, you want to do good, right? Like, that's why I wanted to get on the school committee. But it's just like, honestly, I tell people it's like sticking forks in my eyes.
Oh,
Because it's like it's like a positive and a negative, and then the bigger number, you get the negative,
Right.
And nothing happens. And so I love your passion for this, and I wish you so much luck. And
someone on the housing authority, when I told them that I was going to make a run for it, a couple of them looked at me. They go, "We haven't tortured you enough here. You want to go in front of the big guns now?" I'm like, someone has to do it. Everyone's saying they want new eyes. They want younger representation. The people who have been involved, they're like, we want to be able to just sit back. We want to enjoy our twilight years. We want to enjoy our retirement. We want to enjoy more time with the family, with the grandkids. So we want new people. We want younger people. We want people who have an idea
Fresh
of what's
blood.
going on. They want fresh blood. Some need it to
How is Tewksbury, Lowell? I'm a blow-in. I will always be a blow-in. And
you.
the attitude is that the wind blew me in, the wind will eventually blow me
Right.
out.
And he has a blog called The Right Side of Lowell, like, and he's the most Lowell person I've ever met in my life. But okay, you're
All right,
a
but
blow-in.
is Tewksbury that way? Is Tewksbury mainly people that have lived there since the
Industrial Revolution.
1600s and are
There's-
not welcoming, or do you have a lot of new people?
There's still families and people around, not even necessarily
Yeah.
families. There could be some individuals who I haven't necessarily ran into it, but I've talked to people
Yeah.
who have, where they're like, oh, if they are on the stance, if you're not from here generationally, like if you can't go back 3 generations, you're not real Tewksburyan. I haven't seen it. I've just heard about it, so it's hearsay at this point. I've talked to people who have been here for 6 months, who just moved in. I've known people who've been here since Tewksbury was part of Billerica, like their
Eh.
families anyways.
And it wasn't it Tewksbury used to be called East Lowell. I want to
No,
Not that I,
but
maybe as a nickname, but
but we have part of the Belvedere used to be part of Tewksbury.
Okay.
one of the cemeteries
Yeah.
used to be
Yes.
Tewksbury. Like I was at I did a briefing with Richard Howe years ago, the former
Dick Howe.
Register of Deeds. And it was basically how Lowell came to be, how they got pieces from Chelmsford, they got Drake, they
I
got
think-
Tewksbury. They were getting pieces to grow because it was during the Industrial Revolution. that
Time
people-
check, Eileen?
Yes, Eileen has to go. Vote for Eileen in November. I'll be in touch, people.
We'll see you on Monday.
Very nice to meet you,
Nice to
Ryan.
meet
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you. And it's just,
Yeah.
so I've seen it from both sides. There are a lot of new people coming in. And they're just trying to find their footing, get their hold in town, figure out what's where, who to talk to, who does what. With all the resources available. I work close with our veterans agent, who's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And she says she's constantly reaching out to she has veterans from all over the place reaching out to her because they know she
Yeah.
knows what she's doing. They can trust her. People from Tewksbury have
Thanks for the
gone
donuts.
to a veterans event in Lowell.
Yeah.
And like, oh, our veteran agent does it. And they go, really? And then they'll at
How-
least go and ask the
Yeah.
question and just figure out what
Yeah.
goes where.
As medically retired, do you have any connection with the Veterans Administration, the Federal Veterans Administration?
I don't work with any of them. I don't talk too
Yeah.
much with it's degenerating disc disease, so it's gonna get
Yeah.
worse. So when I handle that, I'll get to that. I know I have contact with some people from there and some business cards that I don't even remember where I got
Yeah.
these cards from. But I try to stay as self-sufficient as I can and handle what I can do. And then I go to veterans coffees at least twice a week.
Yeah.
I actually have one after this. And that's how we disseminate our information. We're like, oh, did you know you can do this
Yeah.
now? Did you know this is a thing? So it's more of a coffee where we can talk about whatever we want, and we do. We have some colorful characters. We have some who sit in the back. And then when it comes to town issues, they come to me. They're like, oh, how's this? How's that? When the HEROES Act got passed, I was
Yeah.
getting questions. Oh, is Tewksbury participating in. And I was like, I don't know to what extent you mean. I think generally the bill was, it was a lot of language change.
Yeah.
But it was a 40-something page bill. Probably maybe half of it was stuff new for the bill. The other half was the language change. But it's like there's parts of it that, if I'm right, if I remember right, there's the municipalities can change. There's like percentage windows where they can do certain benefits and tax rebates and things like that. That part I don't know. That's up to the town management side of things.
Did you get a notice, email or in the mail that we have to renew cards? All of us.
Yeah, for the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the older cards they're phasing out. So I already have the new card. It's good for like 30 years when I got out, so I'm not worried about it. It was certain qualified people who have certain IDs.
I think I have to renew my ID card.
Because our VFW commander pushed that out. Our veterans agent pushed that out. Both are on top of everything. They send it out, and then they send it to me, and they're like, "Hey, can you send this out on whatever? Can you put this out on Facebook?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I work with the veterans officer on their social media stuff, and she's like, "Hey, can you make sure this information gets out?" The VFW will email me, "Hey, can you make sure this information gets out?" Because if there's a veteran event, there's about 3 of us that are consistently there. Others have things to do, so I'm not calling them out.
So a comment from the audience, please ask Ryan his thoughts on his competition and the Tewksbury's new town manager, John Curran.
So I'll start with John Curran because it's going to be a shorter list. I've talked to him briefly here and there. I've met with him a couple times. I have family in Billerica who know who he is. I don't have an opinion one way or the other on him. Everything I've seen, because that's one of the things the vets ask me all the time. How's our new town manager? How's our new Billerica transit? Because Rich Montori, who we had, was a former town manager in Billerica. Now we have this John Curran, who's coming in from Billerica. So like, why do we keep getting Billerica's people? I'm like, Dad, I'm not on those decision-making boards. I couldn't be this past year. I was elected in town.
Well, I got to say this.
Some people
say this about Curran. Okay, recently I went to a Wilmington, Tewksbury Greater Chamber of Commerce annual meeting. So I'm sitting there and I recognized John Curran. I'd seen his picture in the paper.
Right.
I never met the guy.
No, it's the same thing. I knew who he was
So
by
I walked
image.
over, shakes his hand. He gives me his card, and he says, "If there's anything you need help with, anything I can help with, please call." I have never had a manager treat me in such a welcoming way than John Curran's. I was very impressed. I'm still very impressed by that.
The conversations I've had with John, the things I've seen, I think we're in good hands. He seems to have an idea. He's taking it. I mean, when he came in first day, it was budget, getting ready for the big budget to come out. So he had to handle that. He met with all the directors, the department heads, because I met with Lisa, our veterans agent. She said that was our first conversation. He came to a veterans Thanksgiving event we did, and he was help serving food. So he's out. If there's an event, I've seen him there. He's not shy about being seen or talking to the voters, as I've seen other people where it's like, oh, I'm stepping away. This is my job. I'm not doing this part of it. He takes all aspects of his job seriously, and he puts all the effort he can into them.
All right, well, I'm going to come back and ask you about your competition.
Right.
But first, we're going to run this video of Eric Gitch's re-election fundraiser last night. So I'm going to run this for about 5 minutes. We'll be back. Thanks. My wife, Angela, my son, Zach, for dealing with me for the last 4 years now. My mother and father who are here, thank you for instilling everything that I believe in today and giving me the stubbornness to be who I am. It's all on them. And thank you to Brady McKieran. Brady, thank you for running our campaign all these years, and we're back at it again. My brother Lee, who told me
2 years ago, I was the dumbest person in the world to get out of District 8 and run at large, but I did anyway. So I just want to just think about the last 4 years and just thank all of you. 4 years ago, I was standing in this very same spot, running for the first time as a city councilor. I stood here and I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect, and because of all of you, I got elected, and I can't thank all of you enough. And 2 years later, again, we went to the same thing, and he had called and said, "You ready to get ready to rerun?" And I said, "I'm going to run at large." And he said, "I'm not campaigning with you. I hate you." And you know, there's a certain type of pride that comes with all of us in the city. When you're in the city and you come from the city, people will ask you the same thing: where you from? And all of us identify, I'm from the Highlands, I'm from Belvedere, I'm from the Acre. My father still tells me stories about being from the Acre as a kid. But that's how we identify ourselves when we're in the city, is by the section of the city we live in. So when we leave the city and we go outside the city limits and we start going to the other communities, the first thing all of us say is, I'm from Lowell. And I wanted that feeling when I ran at large to say, I'm not just from District 8, but I'm from Lowell. And I wanted to win something in Lowell. When you look around, you look at the pride, and even in here, you look at some of the past people who have won at large, and you say, wow, and some of them won big. And there's always that pride with saying, I could win in Lowell. So we did that, and because of all of you, we got lucky enough to get a seat on the city council for a second term. Both terms I was a non-incumbent, because when you switch from a district to run at large, you're non-incumbent. But all of you made me an incumbent, and I can't thank you enough for that. It has been the most enjoyable 4 years. It's challenging. I relate it to playing baseball. You get up, you get 3 strikes for a reason. And hopefully sometimes you swing and miss, and then you can hit. So I can't thank you enough. And again today, I want to thank all of you again, and hope that you'll go out and work as hard as you have in the past 2 elections for me, and ask your friends to vote and spread a good word, because I think that's how we got elected the first few times, and hopefully we're lucky enough to be able to represent all of you again in the future. And most of you who are in here are all my friends, and I just want to recognize Dan Finn also, who is running in District 3, is here also.
Yeah, I think
Okay, so if you want to watch this whole video,
I've been.
great time last night.
I
Eric
want
had it.
people to understand that
Pleasant
the platform is very
Country Club,
simple.
And I'm going to stop it there
Yeah,
and
we
go back
ran
to the
on.
show.
Because it's close to
Here we go. Back
Right.
to you, Cliff.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Welcome back, and we're here with Ryan Lloyd, and he's running for selectman in the town of Tewksbury. And the producer wanted to know about the competition and maybe how you distinguish yourself from the competition.
Well, we'll start with Mark, because Mark Kratman, he's the incumbent. He's been involved for a long time. I have no issues with Mark. I've talked with Mark on multiple occasions. Whenever we're at events, we say hi, we have brief conversations. He called me when news came out that I was pulling papers to run. He called me and said, congrats for stepping up. It's good to see young people getting involved. We have a very cordial relationship. We're at veterans event all the time, so we bump into each other quite frequently. Rich Russo I met when he was on the school committee. Granted, I came home in 21, so from 2009 when I graduated high school to 2021, I wasn't around. So I haven't been able, I've been meeting people on the go, and I've been doing a whirlwind of meeting people since I came home. I'm always at events, so I met Rich Russo through the school committee. It might have even been during teacher negotiations, but I think it was sometime before that. It was some event we bumped into. We started talking because I know a lot of the school committee people. So like, here, this is Rich. We introduced each other, and we talk all the time. We're the same mentality of people. We're very direct. We're very honest people. I tell people all the time, 12 years in the military, I don't know how to soften the blow. I'm going to tell you up front, I'm going to tell you straight. I'll try to make it as easy to digest as I can, just because I know it can be a lot at once. But I don't have the time. I've never been one that can sit there and take the time to soften it, or I'm just going to be direct with you. That was my big problem when I was working with Dave Robertson at the State House. I would draft up an email. I'm like, hey, your name's on this email. Look over it, make sure it's not too blunt, because I'm a very direct person. Whenever I did emails, it was straight to the point. There you go. I don't do the whole fluff it up thing. We talk frequently. We're always bumping into each other at different events. And then Lindsay Dunleavy-Tosto, I don't know too much about her. We've met a lot recently. We've been in a lot of the events together. We're close in age. She's a couple years younger than me. She's coming from the financial background. I know that much. I know people who did know her, who say, hey, I know who Lindsay is. I went to school with her. But that's pretty much the extent of it. Because people are like, who's this? They know the name Dunleavy. They know the name Tosto. They don't necessarily know who she is, and that's not a bad thing or a good thing. I did the same thing when I came home and got involved. Like, who's this guy? It's like, I don't know. I ran unopposed for housing, so they were watching it from that angle. I was going to all the events. I was making sure I was didn't want to say the wrong thing and upset anyone, or I was just being honest. So when I met with people like, oh, what's your stance on this? What's your stance on that? I'd tell them, she seems to be doing the same thing. Running for your first time is a challenge enough as it is. Running for Selectboard, the big board in town, is a whole nother challenge on top of that because of everything that gets involved, all the pieces involved, all the people connected to it. So I give her all the credit in the world for taking the chance, stepping up and doing what she feels she has to do. And then all four of us are doing the same thing. We're stepping up, doing the fight that we feel needs to be fought to make Tewksbury thrive and survive and bring it into the next generation of residents.
Right after I got up here, they abolished county government. And now we have NEMCOG,
Northern Middlesex.
the Northern Middlesex, the council governments.
Yeah.
Would we be better off for coordination purposes if they brought back county government? I mean, not that I'd like to be associated with all those people down in Cambridge and
Right.
all that, yuck. But would we be better off getting county government back?
I know certain places still has county involvement, like
Yeah.
down in Plymouth County, they still have some. It's limited, but they do still have county oversight. I think the problem is some of the counties, like Middlesex County, is too big and too densely populated for something like that. Plymouth County is a lot more condensed. It's a lot more easier to manage. You move out west where it's all spread out. It's not a lot of people, but it's such a massive amount of land, square
Yeah.
mileage, that it may be easier for some people to do it. So I think the counties maybe allow them to decide. But like you're saying, Middlesex is so big, so varied. Between us, between Cambridge, the further up you get, the
Yeah.
the closer to Boston you get, the ideologies are different. So that's a lot of problems that are having with different laws that come out. It's like, oh, it benefits these communities, it doesn't benefit these communities. Well, if we do that on the county level, it's going to be the same problem. People are still going to be riling up, and they're going to rile up and
Cliff, would you address this with Ryan, please?
Ryan Evans came in the Air Force like flower.
Yeah, did you have a tactical call sign of some sort?
Not that I was made aware of.
Oh, okay.
The higher ups might have had something, but it never filtered down to me. We had a couple during Operation Tomodachi in Japan with the big earthquake,
Yeah.
and we were doing all our relief and evacuations and things like that. The people who were in charge of different operations did. I remember one of our lieutenants was Angel Eyes. I don't know if he came up with that, but whenever I was standing next to him and they called, he goes, "This is Angel Eyes, what can I help you with?" Or whatever the status is. I was just get my boots on the ground, get running, doing what I need to do. So if they had a nickname for me, it was never filtered.
I got mine in 1966. I was standing in the latrine with a couple of guys who actually had been in the same squadron as my wife's late husband had been in when he bought the farm off of Okinawa. And one of them looked at me and said, Clifton Clowers, flowers. So that's how I got flowers. But it's the kind of thing that works. I was I was on the refueling track in '73. We were doing support for the Cambodian military. And I'm on the tanker and I hear this flight check in, and I know exactly who it is. It's Wayne Beckler. He's at Ubon. I'm at Karat. But I had been Wayne's backseater in Bitburg, Germany.
Right.
So I hear him checking. So when the radio goes quiet, I mash the mic button and I go, whale. And there's a little pause and I get back, flowers. So we connected right there.
Yeah.
Because we knew what our tactical
Right.
call signs were, so to speak. And
It's more, pilots get it a lot more.
Yeah.
Just because it's easier to call out and discretion and everything like that on the
Well,
ground.
it's-
We had
yeah.
fun things we
Yeah.
called each other, but none of it stuck as an actual nickname.
it's, when you're up there, communicating quickly
Right.
and accurately is important. I used to write, when I was in the backseat, I used to write with a grease pencil, a 9 on the left side of the canopy and a 3 on the right
Right.
side. So if I looked over and I saw a bogey, I could, like one day, the word for North Vietnamese fighters was Sheboygan, you know. So I could look, if I saw one, I could go, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a mistake because it's right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sheboygan's at 9.
9 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that works out well. I'm holding off. I'm going to give you a chance to give your elevator speech just before we terminate. But so I'll impose one of my views on you. And maybe Tewksbury's in better shape than Lowell because we're land poor.
It certainly is. That's why we call it the land of Oz.
What?
Linda Bound nicknamed Tewksbury the land of Oz because things happen perfectly there.
Okay. But one of the things that the governor, I think, fails to understand, the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, fails to understand, is that we have a discrepancy in our population. And it's particularly outstanding, and since it's Black History Month, this works out for me. The family savings and the cross-generational wealth in Black families is measured in hundreds of dollars.
Right.
Caucasian families, thousands of dollars. How do you fix that? You give Black families who are renters a chance to buy a house. Not a big house.
Right.
A cheap house.
Right.
And I experienced this. My parents bought a house in Lowell, Pennsylvania, and it was dirt cheap.
Right.
We
And it
don't,
was a cookie
we
cutter.
don't have those cheap houses in Tewksbury.
No, and that's why I was having this talk with someone last night. It's pushing the longtime residents who can't afford these big houses. It's pushing
So,
them
Cliff,
further
would-
out.
Let Cliff get to his question. I interrupted
Oh.
him.
Yeah, so we have to find a way here in eastern Massachusetts to create a number of cheap houses. You're probably not old enough to remember, but you used to be able to buy a cookie cutter house from Sears and Roebuck.
Right.
They'd ship the parts.
Yeah.
And you'd assemble it. It was not fancy.
But it was
But
a house.
it was a house and
Yeah.
it was your house.
Right.
And you would eventually, as you accumulated wealth and you build up equity in that house, you could eventually buy a bigger house and you could sell it to someone else.
Right. Bill Ricca actually, one of their board meetings, their select board meetings that came up, there's talks of putting a residential, a first time, I wish I could remember it. It was something about a first time residential homeowners district, where it was smaller, cheaper, affordable houses, so people starting their own families can have something to start with. Seniors could move there.
Yep.
If they wanted to downsize and put their house out on the market and move that money over to whatever they wanted to do for the next generation or two down. The idea itself is a great idea. The problem I see with it in Tewksbury is we don't have the room for it. My first thought is, where could we put this zone? It's
Yeah.
the zone specifics. It's very, I don't want to say cut and dry, but it's very standardized. You need this many houses with this much, valued at this much,
Yeah.
this size, things like that. But well, I'd have to look at the Tewksbury zoning. And again, and that's not a planning board decision. That comes down to
Yeah.
the zoning board of appeals, the planning board before it gets there. So it's not one of those cut and dry things. It has to go through the process, and that's what one of the determinations
Yeah.
was coming from Ulrich is, I'd love to do it in Tewksbury.
It sounds
Where do we
great
put
that
it?
Baruch is doing it, and I can see the problem. I mean, what do you have? You have the Tewksbury Hospital.
Right.
If they gave that up. So we're down to the last couple of minutes. It's time for your elevator speech.
Well, what I can offer for Tewksbury is a new outlook on things. We've had some problems that consistently come up. Just giving new eyes, new opinions, new insight from a younger person who's trying to get their legs back under them, coming home from the military. Being able to put new life into Tewksbury, get new people involved, new ideas pushed, develop Tewksbury, because as we continue to take on new challenges, as we continue to move through this timeline, it's going to come down to some new creative thoughts to survive, to adapt, to change with the coming times. I respect and enjoy Tewksbury as it is, but as we develop, as a world, as a nation, as a town, as a state, as we grow and develop, we'll have to come up with new ideas to take on the new challenges of cyber, AI, the new generations of people living life, technology, all that comes in. We have to make sure we can get Tewksbury up to speed to be able to keep up, so we don't fall to the wayside and become a little podunk former ghost town that just fizzles out to history, and all of the residents have to figure out something new and come to Lowell, go to Haverhill, go to Boston, Cambridge, somewhere that has been able or will be able to sustain the next generation of how we live.
Okay, so one last question. My late brother-in-law, when I mentioned Tewksbury, thought about stoves. Have you ever heard of the Tewksbury stove?
No.
Got two comments from the audience. First of which is, you also need to find a builder who's willing to charge less to
That's the
build,
big thing is
to build houses.
it's privatized. So.
And the last one is, thanks, great show today. That's from Bart, thanks. Time is short, Cliff.
Well, that's it. Brian's running. The election's 5 November. April, thank you. That's stuck in my mind, November. It's important to vote. It's important to send a signal to the politicians that people care. So I'm urging everyone to turn out to vote. It's a Saturday. Take advantage of it.
Minutes, if that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.
Bye.